This is Vince Kripta. What is Preterist-Realism? Preterist-Realism is a dogmatic response to hyper-preterism, emphasizing exemplarism and theological realism in the fulfillment of God's will in time, creation, and in history. Full preterists generally hold that 2 Peter chapter 3 speaks of events that were fulfilled around AD 70, as if the text spoke only of events that were either wholly past or wholly future. But in preterist realism, upon the shoulders of many studied exegetes and expositors like John Owen, we see that it is within the bounds of orthodoxy in Scripture to assert that Paul spoke of a day of the Lord that would indeed soon come, like the prophets said in Isaiah, Ezekiel, Joel, the book of Acts, Obadiah, Zephaniah, Romans and Philippians chapter 4 verse 5, Hebrews chapter 10 verse 25, James chapter 5 verses 8 to 9, 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 7, and it goes on. A great day of wrath poured upon the whole of creation. Read about this more in Zephaniah chapter 1. And Revelation chapter 16 verse 1, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth, signified perhaps by the real events of Jerusalem's fall around AD 70, where it says, of course, in Matthew chapter 24, And then shall appear a sign of the Son of Man in heaven. It is not the sign that is in heaven, but rather the Son of Man who is in heaven. That is, the sign of his coming, the parousia, like it was questioned in verse 3. But in preterist realism, the events then at hand were not exhausted then. The day of the Lord, though it came as a thief in the night, was a day of great noise and calamity, like we see in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. A day of fire until the day of judgment, a day that could last thousands of years. We see in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, that a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day, which echoes Psalms chapter 90, which shows the judgment of God upon the earth. Since the day of the Lord was realized around AD 70, the present order is being burned as God's wrath is poured upon creation until the consummation at the day of judgment. We see that the day of the Lord is not just one day. We see it even before AD 70. The day of the Lord came upon Babylon. It came upon Edom, as we read in Obadiah. AD 70 did not exhaust all Bible prophecy, for if the beast was Nero or Rome, then precisely when was the beast cast into fire and perdition in AD 70? The old order was preserved as it was since the beginning, being detained for a general conflagration realized in the day of the Lord, signified perhaps by Jerusalem's fall, but realized throughout history and in this age in these last days, and consummated in a future day of judgment called the last day. The beast, Rome and his allies and subjects, they did indeed seize the whore, which was apostate Jerusalem, and made her desolate and naked with burning fire. But the Scriptures clearly teach that the beast will go into perdition. For example, Revelation chapter 19, verse 20. Yet Rome has continued to wage war against the saints after AD 70. The beast and the papal false prophet indeed continue to deceive the nations, but are now being subdued by our king. Full preterism rightly accounts for the fall of the great whore of Babylon, who is apostate Jerusalem, but gives no account for the fall of Rome and the rise of the false prophet, which is in his place, something that the church continues to struggle against. Revelation chapter 19, verse 21, And a remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, a remnant of all those old elements. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, teaches of the false prophet, how it came from the first beast. I behold another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercised all power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. This did not happen in AD 70. Yet the whore of Babylon was was conquered. Yes, in the past, AD 70. But there's much more to the story. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth, in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth, by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. You see, the beast conquered Babylon, and itself, the beast will go into perdition. Righteous and true is God who reigns over the beast and the false prophet. He really has been purging the world of darkness by his parousia. I read throughout the rest of the book of Revelation, chapter 20, for example. The devil goes out to deceive the nations, to gather them up for battle against the saints. We see that fire devours them, and the devil is cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. This is a picture that 2 Peter chapter 3 gives of the ultimate end of God's conflagration of heaven and earth. He will completely purge creation of corruption and the elements of lawlessness. This consummation is logically and sequentially after the perdition of the beast and the false prophet. Thus, all prophecy couldn't have been exhausted by AD 70, seeing that they are already being tormented after the devil is cast into fire. The old order being dissolved, and the judgment which follows, and the promise of the new heaven and earth, where righteousness dwell, is being realized in the consummation at that final day. This promise we indeed realize now by faith, because it is the substance of what we hope for. That is, faith is the evidence of those very things that we look for.